For the Fiscal Times and radio and TV commentator Ellis Henican. Thank you both for joining us on this Friday. First to you, Ellis.
Hey guys, hey.
Hey, good to see you. Hey, let's start with you, Ellis. Trump was booed, as you heard, heavily when challenging Cruz's birth status last night. Could this, though, actually sink Trump, or have things changed now with this latest lawsuit that John just mentioned?
Well, Donald's on top at the moment in it because he's doing exactly what he wants to do, which is to stir mischief and doubt when it comes to Senator Cruz. Most Americans have no idea what these rules mean. In fact, most legal scholars don't know what they mean. But Donald has inserted just enough doubt to make some voters in the early primaries wonder, am I wasting my vote if I'm voting for that Canadian?
Right. No, I mean, when he just put it out there. But then I thought, when I saw the debate last night, and then Trump kind of admitted, yeah, I kind of said it because I've been, he was going up in the polls. But now with this lawsuit, I don't know. Liz, what do you think?
I think it's been genius on the part of Donald Trump. Number one, he has presented it in such a way that he's really helping his friend Ted Cruz resolve this problem before it gets to be a bigger problem. Secondly, most people still don't even know, at least recently, didn't even know that Ted Cruz had an issue here that is, hadn't been born in the United States. I've had people say to me, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. So, A, he's introduced it, B, he's introduced it up until last night in a way that made him seem like sort of a kindly uncle helping Ted Cruz through this thorny thicket. Yeah. And it is interesting because, John McCain wasn't born in the United States. This never became an issue in his campaign. So it's clearly a manufactured problem. Now, John McCain certainly had both U.S. parents, U.S. citizen parents, which is not the case with Ted Cruz. But I think Ellis is right. It's basically cast a little doubt at a very pivotal time when he was surging. And it does appear to have put sort of a deflator in that surging poll situation. So whether it'll really resonate going forward, I don't know. It's clearly a red herring, but right now it's kind of an important one.
Right. I thought when Trump first raised this issue, it was like, oh, here he goes again with the whole birther thing. Everybody's going to laugh it off. It was pretty much litigated. And it was, I thought back to the White House Correspondents' Dinner when Barack Obama actually took on Donald Trump in the crowd and played the video. Remember when he said this? I have video of my birth, and it was a scene from The Lion King, and everybody got a laugh about it. And Donald Trump was, you could see he was visibly angry almost that Barack Obama had the better of him in that particular event. But the way, Liz, as you mentioned, and you too, Ellis, the way he has brought this in, first saying, oh, well, he's my good friend, and I want to get this issue resolved for him right away.
I'm trying to help the Republican Party.
But also important, what you mentioned, Liz, is that it's different than John McCain because he had two parents, and it's different than Barack Obama because he was born in Hawaii, which is part of the United States, not in Canada. And every layer of this gets peeled back like an onion, and it just keeps playing out, and it keeps playing out. It very well may run up to Iowa. And this type of thing can really affect somebody in Iowa. Ellis, what do you think the net difference in the result of the Iowa, and Cruz could still very much win the Iowa caucuses, but what is the difference going to be? He's going to come out of that perhaps wounded as a result.
Well, let me be clear about one thing. Ted Cruz does not appreciate this little assist from Uncle Donald.
No, that's clear.
This is diabolical mischief. I mean, this is not helping Ted Cruz in any way at all. He wants this thing not to be discussed to the slightest. And Donald, as you know, is a master at keeping this stuff alive. I mean, how long did he talk about this phony story about Barack Obama's African birth, right? I mean, he strung that out for years, and it turned out he didn't have a whit of evidence about it. Listen, it doesn't take a lot. Nobody knows. It's a tight race. Cruz has a lot of advantages, but boy, it could determine who wins the Iowa caucus. I'll say that right now.
Yeah. At this point, there's one person who I think has to win the Iowa caucus. It's about meeting expectations. And Liz, would you agree that person is Ted Cruz? If he doesn't, then he looks like he can't win.
I think it's very important for him to do well in Iowa. I think Iowa is also very important, by the way, for Ben Carson. If Ben Carson doesn't do well there, I think he's kind of gone. Maybe everyone sort of has dismissed him already. But Iowa's, weird as it seems, it is an important place. And by the way, the other thing that's a problem for Cruz there, obviously, is his stance on ethanol, which I give him a lot of credit for. I'm not an ethanol fan. No one really should be. But guess what? Iowa farmers, historically, that's why everybody approved of ethanol, was because you had to run in Iowa. So good for him. but that's also bad for him in terms of polling.
Yeah, Rubio pretty effective on hitting him on that last night. That was one of those damaging blows as well. And of course, Liz and Ellis, both from the Big Apple. We're going to talk about that aspect of the debate as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to get your reaction on that.
And also on the cover of the New York Daily News today, which was very interesting as well. All right, Liz, Ellis, stick around. We're going to come back. We got much more to talk about, including the debate. We are going to talk about that birther issue, maybe a little bit more coming up. But the New Yorkers, not too pleased with Texas Senator Ted Cruz, and we're talking about Democrats and Republicans. Some of those Democrats even backing Donald Trump today, including New York's mayor. Explain what that's all about coming up. And after the roundtable, how to find sustainable solutions during these challenging economic times in some of the areas of this country that need it most. That man right there, John Hope Bryant, will talk about why it's not so much black or white, but green. It's going to make a difference in some of America's most underprivileged neighborhoods. And also, time for you to weigh in. Did you catch the USA Freedom Girls at the Trump rally? Were you pro or con?
Welcome back. The New York Daily News is known for its attention-grabbing cover pages, and this morning, readers received quite the wake-up call when they saw this on the cover. You ready for that? Look at that. We even had to blur that out. Drop Dead Ted. Hey, Cruz, you don't like New York values? Go back to Canada.
Ouch.
Ouch. Yeah. Oof. Here are some of the arguments that led to that Daily News attacking of Cruz.
I think most people know exactly what New York values are. Everyone understands that the values in New York City are socially liberal or pro-abortion or pro-gay marriage, focused around money and the media.
New York is a great place. It's got great people. Everybody in the world love New York and love New Yorkers. And I have to tell you, that was a very insulting statement that Ted made.
Ted did not see that coming. Joining us back for round two of the roundtable, Ellis Henican and Liz Peek, both New Yorkers. Liz, I know you're not a huge Donald Trump fan, but Ted Cruz attacking New York values, that kind of cropped up earlier this week, and then it really came to a head last night. You have to give Donald Trump the upper hand in a very poignant moment, not just for being able to answer that issue, but the way he spoke about that. He showed some, I think he won some fans over last night. Would you agree?
Big time.
I thought it was a very genuine response. But here's what's really interesting. We've all come around to thinking that Ted Cruz is the smartest person on the planet. But he must have seen that coming, because Donald Trump has basically said the same thing before. Ted Cruz was left standing, sort of staring at Donald Trump, mouth open, applauding very awkwardly. It was a really bad moment for Ted Cruz. As to the substance of the comment, he's just playing to Iowa voters. Nobody, or I should say a lot of people in that part of the country, are not very enamored with New York City and the big city kind of morals and all the things that they sort of, there's some resentments and suspicions that they harbor about New York. There's no question about that. We've all spent time out there. That's true. But I thought it was a cheap shot. And to be honest, it was sort of just completely perfectly says what I think a lot of us think about Ted Cruz, that he's sort of slick, not a very lovely person, and that sounds sort of sappy, I think. But at the end of the day, some of this is about being a good person. That's who you're going to vote for, the guy you want to spend time with. It sure isn't Ted Cruz in my book.
Even he admits he's not the guy you want to go have a beer with.
Yeah, well, definitely not in New York, apparently. I mean, I've lived in Iowa. I visited New York. I'm not a politician, but when I heard that, I went, ooh, you shouldn't have said that. Ouch, Ellis.
So, Miranda, can you explain to me what the statue was doing there?
I'm
sure you read the paper.
Use your imagination.
I'm confused. I saw that blur. I didn't know what that meant.
Well, it's a family program, Ellis. We don't want to give the kids any ideas. The last thing we want is.
So let me put it like this. I come from Louisiana, as you guys know, and a place that sometimes people have a little fun at the expense of. And I've lived in New York for more than a couple of decades now. That was really dumb. People do not talk about other people's states like that.
Right. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, don't you have to appeal or try to appeal to as many people as possible? And you're going to upset and put down the largest city, basically, is what he was talking about. New York City, the largest city in the country.
Yeah.
That, to me, he seems like a really smart man. I just didn't think that was a smart move. And by the way, I've lived in Louisiana, too.
It's a very nice place, isn't it?
Yes,
It's
it is.
ignorant and prejudiced, and I would say almost as prejudiced as saying that you would refuse to allow anyone of a particular religion to come into our country as an immigrant.
Oh,
Almost
there
as
it is.
there
There
it
it is.
is.
You've been holding on to that one. All right, I think we can agree, though. Ted Cruz had the worst week on the campaign trail, though he's still doing very well in the polls. Liz, would you agree?
I do think that's true. He did. Most people gave him the nod last night in terms of a small advantage based on the early part of the debate. But I thought it was a draw. I didn't think he really helped himself.
I think the only thing, but again, this is before the lawsuit came out, I thought he did pretty well defending his, that he was in fact a United States citizen and is eligible to run for presidency.
Until last night.
Until last night, and then this lawsuit came about. But,
Well, and again, they were talking about it. That's not good.
yeah, you bring up a valid point. Liz, just out of curiosity, who do you think won last night's debate?
I thought it was a draw between Donald and Ted Cruz. And in terms of the other candidates, I always think Marco Rubio is the best speaker of that lot. John Kasich, I think, is gone. I think Jeb Bush is gone. When I mean gone, I mean if they don't do well in New Hampshire, they're out of the race.
Yeah.
We're running out of time, but Ellis, real quick, the big winner of the night?
It was all Trump and Cruz and all the others.
Don't sound so excited about it, Alex.
Ben Carson, I think Ben Carson really was sleeping, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was too every time it came to Ben Carson. Let's go. Move on. All right.
All right, Ellis and Liz, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a
Great
great
weekend, guys.
Thank you very much.
Just ahead on Newsmax Now, an American moment that changed the course of history forever, the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And there's still time for you to weigh in and tell us what you think about the USA Freedom Kids and their pro-Donald Trump rally song. Do you like it? Let us know.